Hi everyone. I am a little late for you UK folks. Technically I'm posting this on Friday, but it's still Thursday here in the States, so I figure I'm at least half right. I've just been slightly under the weather today, so I haven't gotten around to making a video until now. Our theme this week is James Bond, and it just so happens that 2012 is exactly 50 years after the very first Bond film was released in 1962. That was, of course, Dr. No. James Bond, the James Bond series, is the longest running single character franchise. I guess you could say it's a single character, but there's other characters in motion picture history. Series like Star Wars and Harry Potter have made more money than the James Bond series, but James Bond has quite a lot more films than either of those to its name. It's funny, exactly 25 years ago was the halfway point in the series, and that was Timothy Dalton's first movie, The Living Daylights. That was when I started watching James Bond movies in the theater, and if I'm not mistaken, I've seen every single James Bond movie since that time in the theater, to my regret on occasion. There were 6 films with Sean Connery, if you count Never Say Never Again, which was not officially a James Bond production by the Broccoli's. All the Broccoli's have been involved in every one of them, as well as the studio MGM in one form or another. Occasionally it was known as United Artists, but mostly MGM, and recently Columbia Pictures came on as sort of a partner in production and distribution with the first of the Daniel Craig movies. Daniel Craig, come this holiday season, will be an actor to play James Bond in 3 films, the new one being Skyfall. Timothy Dalton was in 2 James Bond movies. George Lazenby was in 1 James Bond film, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Pierce Brosnan was in 4 James Bond movies, and both Connery and Roger Moore were in 6 apiece. So we've had a review of Dr. No already, as well as a review of Casino Royale. So I'd like to talk about a different actor who played James Bond, and that would be, of course, Pierce Brosnan. My dad is a longtime fan of James Bond, particularly the books. He feels that no James Bond film is a legitimate James Bond film unless it's actually based on something that Ian Fleming actually wrote, because he was the original the author that created the character. So yeah, all those Pierce Brosnan movies really don't count, because none of them were written by Ian Fleming, even remotely. Pierce Brosnan, I wouldn't say that Roger Moore would probably be my generation's James Bond, if only because I was a kid when those movies were being made, and that's probably the best time to enjoy James Bond movies, is when you're a kid. Because the ridiculousness and lack of realism, are fun and don't bother you as much. Or at least they wouldn't bother me as much as they would now. Now James Bond's a bit more realistic. He still is superhuman in some ways, but it's easier to accept what he does with less of the ridiculousness, taken out of it to a degree. That was a particular problem with the final Pierce Brosnan movie, Die Another Day. A lot of people complain about the invisible car, a lot of people complain about the ice fortress and about the paragliding and what have you. I just think it's silly to have a plane in the climax on fire and blowing up and still be able to fly in a relatively straight line. It's idiotic. Of course, I want to talk about The World Is Not Enough, which was the 3rd of the 4 movies that Pierce Brosnan appeared in. And this is widely regarded as one of the very worst James Bond movies, but not by me, especially not in comparison with the other Pierce Brosnan Bonds. I actually think this is the best one, despite the presence of Denise Richards, and make no mistake about it, the casting of that actress as an American nuclear scientist is particularly ill-advised. She had actually just been in a film the previous year called Wild Things, made her big star because she had a big 3-way sex scene with Matt Dillon and Neve Campbell, and was considered to be very hot, not by me. So she was cast as someone who basically helps James Bond defeat the bad guys. I would really like George Lucas to get ILM to take The World Is Not Enough and digitally erase Denise Richards and drop 1990 era Carla Gugino in her place. I think that she would make an excellent Dr. Christmas Jones. That's her name, Christmas Jones. And she would be a heck of a lot more believable as a foil, someone who would actually be Bond's equal. But the reason why I like The World Is Not Enough more than the other ones, at least more than the other Brosnan Bond films, is because it's, well, first of all, it's directed by Michael Apted, who's a very good director. He's well known for dramas such as Gorillas in the Mist and Nell, and a few other interesting pictures. Obviously a lot of the James Bond film itself is directed by second unit stunt guys, guys who are good at pulling off set pieces, and by all accounts, Michael Apted probably wasn't the guy to realize all that stuff, but he, is really good with handling actors. And this really pays off in this film, I think, quite well during the scenes when Denise Richards is not on screen. First of all, Pierce Brosnan, this is his best performance as Bond. He seems to be taking a lot more seriously than he is in the other films. And he's really good, actually, especially in the first few moments. He really manages to convince that he's a hardened guy rather than, as my dad would say, kind of a male model type rather than an actual guy who is good at combat and gun maneuvers and what have you. Of course, this was also Desmond Llewellyn's last appearance as James Bond. He played Q, and he died, I think, shortly after the film was released. But he introduces John Cleese's character, who shows up in the next one, Die Another Day, which is unfortunate. Then we have Judi Dench, of course, as M. And the villains. The villains in this movie are Robert Carlyle, who plays a terrorist. I believe he's Ukrainian. I'm not sure exactly. But he had a bullet lodged in his brain from another 00 agent, which didn't kill him, but cut off all his pain centers, so now he's got superhuman strength, and he won't be put off by injury and what have you. Then we have Sophie Marceau. Now, Sophie Marceau doesn't appear to be a villain initially, and the key reason why I like this film better than a lot of the other Bond films is because she's a rather unique villain. She's not some raving psychotic or megalomaniacal person. She's actually damaged goods. She's suffering from Stockholm Syndrome because she got kidnapped by Robert Carlyle, and he used his skills as an interrogator and as a torturer to basically turn her against her own family. So she's been sort of operating as a wolf in sheep's clothing, wanting to destroy her father's ownership of her mother's family's oil pipeline, and destroy like an entire city in order to raise oil values or something like that. But clearly she's a disturbed person, not by her own fault, and it kind of hurts Brosnan or Bond to act against her, to use force against her if necessary, when he knows that she's a victim. So that makes it a little bit more interesting than the average Bond villain, whereas they're just all out evil. Incidentally, I have to say one of my favorite Bond villains is from A View to a Kill, which is probably the worst Bond movie ever made. Unless that's Moonraker. I haven't actually seen Moonraker. But he's Christopher Walken, he's lots of fun, so that's a good part for him. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that is good about this movie and bad. I particularly like the climax where they have to stop a nuclear submarine from submerging and then detonating a nuclear core inside it to be destroyed. There's a lot of good set pieces, miniature set pieces within that larger set piece, particularly in regards to dealing with a ship that's underwater that has its own challenges. The opening sequence is also very good. It's this big, huge chase through. I believe it's London. It takes place in London actually, and Brosnan's piloting an experimental boat chasing another assassin who's in a boat. Really good set piece. So overall, it's sort of a mix of good and bad, but overall I'd have to say I like this one a lot more than the other Bond films, although I kind of like GoldenEye, but not as much. Anyway, so that's my take on that particular film. We've got a new theme starting today, I guess, if you live in England, or tomorrow if you live here in the States. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.